way too many June new releases that I want to read, so let's do a 24-hour readathon, baby. It's been a while since I've done one because I do tend to burn myself out while doing them, and that's no fun, you know. But I don't know, I've just been craving doing one lately, and when I tell you my list of galleys that come out this month is long, I mean it. Like, this is the list. It keeps going. And there's a lot on here that I'm just super excited about. And I just really want to get through this month. There's also a lot of queer ones. And there's also gonna be some non-queer ones probably in this video. I don't know, we'll see how it goes. Whatever I'm in the mood for. But there's also a lot of queer ones. So I also want to celebrate Pride Month that way. And yeah, do try and get through as many as possible. Let's do a 24-hour readathon, because what I did last month to try and read as much as I can in 2 weeks didn't go as planned. So let's hope a 24-hour readathon will actually force me to read more. I will be doing a timer method, because to actually stay awake for 24 hours is my literal definition of hell, so I'm not doing that. But in case you don't know, what happens with a timer method is you have a timer and you put it on for every minute you read, and as soon as you stop reading, you stop the timer, and that's it, and you keep reading until you get to 24 hours, which I also think is fun because I feel like that's a way to like generally test how much can I read within this time span, if that makes sense. So I really like that. But yeah, because I have so many new releases I want to read, it took me a while to pick what I wanted to start with, because here's the thing about me, I get decision paralysis pretty easily. They give me too many options and I won't pick. So that definitely also was an issue with this month. So I went on Storygraph and I read some synopses to kind of see what I was in a mood for. I already knew that I wasn't in a mood to start with a fantasy though, so that already scrapped some options. And I honestly, I'm feeling this book, and it wasn't my original plan for the first one, but I don't know, I'm feeling the vibe. And it's 13 Little Love Stories, an anthology inspired by Taylor Swift songs by a variety of authors. This is a collection of YA romance stories inspired by different Taylor Swift songs. Doesn't this just sound like the most fun you'll ever have? I think it does. And I'm starting filming this on June 12th. So yesterday, Taylor Swift got inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. So I'm definitely in a Swiftie mood. So I don't know. And the list of authors is also absolutely insane. So that's what I'm gonna do. And also, I think I've been like slowly getting out of a reading slump. So maybe like not the best thing to do with 24-hour readathon, because it's just what I'm in the mood to do, so that's what I'm gonna do. And I feel like a collection of short stories might help me just kind of get into the swing of things. So that's what I'm gonna do, and I'm very excited for it. So let's start the timer together. Okay, so I started this vlog pretty late in the day because I knew I wanted to read before bed, and like I had no book that I was in the middle of, and I wanted to start this vlog, so that's what I did. But now I haven't read for an hour yet, and I'm already updating you. I've read for 46 minutes, well 47, because it's basically 47 minutes, so it's not even like a full hour, but I'm tired. It's 11 p.m. I'm going to bed, but I have read 3 stories, so I thought I'd quickly give you my thoughts on them. The first one I read is called The Grand Gesture, and it's by Elise Bryant. This is inspired by the song 15, and I personally give this 3 stars. I thought it was fine, nothing special, but it felt a bit generic. Then we have Everything Unspoken by JL, which was inspired by Love Story. I give this 4 stars. So because it's inspired by Love Story, it's basically Romeo and Juliet retelling, and I really say the circumstances around that are very ridiculous, and this book feels extremely overdramatic. The story, not this book. However, it's so much fun. I had such a blast reading this. And then the last one I read is this one, Just for Us by Jessica Sutanto, which is inspired by Ours, which I have to say is such an underrated Taylor Swift song. I love that one so much. But I gave this 4 stars. And this was adorable. It's so cute. And it's the main character has just moved to America, and she is being bullied for her race at school, and she ends up meeting a guy who is autistic and is being bullied for that, and they kind of bond because of that. And I really thought this was adorable, and I loved how kind of like the things that made them different are the things that they love the most about each other. And it had like a bit of a sad twist, but then a very hopeful and happy ending. And yeah, those are 3 stories that I've read in 46 minutes, and I'm going to bed, and I'll see you in the morning as I hopefully will read more stories because I'm definitely having a good time with this so far. And the next one is by Lynn Painter, and it's called It Happened One Wednesday, so I'm assuming it is inspired by Begin Again, because on a Wednesday in a cafe I watched it Begin Again, and again Begin Again, one of my favorite songs. I'm so excited for that. The favorite song and a favorite author, let's go. Hi, good morning, except it's the afternoon, but I did end up reading some more this morning, and I got to 1 hour 49, so I read about an hour this morning, a little bit more, and I read 4 more stories, which put me at 53% of this collection, I believe. I'm sorry if that's wrong, but I believe I'm about halfway through. So I thought I'd give you another update. So I was so excited last night to be reading the Lynn Painter story. It happened one Wednesday, which is inspired by Begin Again, just like I guessed. But I give this 1 star. I really didn't like this. I thought it was bad. I'm so sorry. It just felt like so forced within its quirkiness, and it had to have like each detail of it had to be either quirky or ridiculous. And nothing could just be normal. Then we have Group Project by Crystal Marquis, which is inspired by style, and I give 3 stars to. These characters had such great tension and such great chemistry, but they were so toxic. Oh my god. And I don't know if that was the point, but there's no way these two would make it at all. And then we have Break For It by Jessica Goodman, which is inspired by Getaway Car, and I give 4 stars to. And I'm not gonna lie, at first I felt a bit weird about this one, because for a very large part it's just the main character gushing about some guy. I was like, huh? Like, he's not that special, like what? Am I missing something? But then I do have to say there was a twist towards the end, which I won't spoil obviously, but that made things but into like a very different perspective, and I like this much more because of that. And then the last one that I read is also my favorite so far. That's 5 Summers by Sloane Harlow, which is inspired by Cool Summer. I give 5 stars too. And this is why Friends to Lovers is superior. Like the angst, the tension, the chemistry, I'm gagged. I love this so much. I actually cried a little bit, and yeah, I have more stories left to go. The next one is The Cardigan in Question by Julie Murphy, which I'm presuming is inspired by Cardigan because of the title. I'm very excited to continue on with this as well, and I am making a good progress with the timer, so that's also a great. But I do have to say that for the rest of today I have quite a lot of filming and editing to do, so I don't know how much more I'll be able to read, but I'll see you in the evening anyway with an update, even if it's like 5 minutes, but we'll see. Good morning, lovely people. It is morning this time. Well, it's 11 a.m. so, but that's before noon, so it's morning. But last night I didn't end up reading that much. I really spent a lot of time editing, like predicted, and after I was done editing I wanted to read, but I was more tired than I thought, so I read like a story and a half, and I landed on 2 hours 9 minutes. I took a screenshot to show you because this morning I have been reading quite a bit, and now I'm at 3 hours 23 minutes, and you guessed it, I finished the book. that, that was what planned. But let me update you on the stories. So where we left off, yes, so last night I read The Cardigan in Question by Julie Murphy, which, as you might have guessed, is inspired by Cardigan. Give this 4 stars. I thought it was really fun. I think it was a really fun twist on the folklore love triangle. Then we have Once Upon a Grad Night by Crystal Maldonado, which is inspired by Willow, and I gave 2 stars to. This is the one I only read half of last night, and then I finished it this morning. And there's nothing wrong with it, I just thought it was a bit boring, and I just didn't really get pulled into it at all. Then we have For Here Now by Catherine McGee, which is inspired by Hits Difference, and I give 3 stars to. It was a fine story, but towards the ending, like a romance got introduced, and I feel like it would have been better off if that remained a friendship. I feel like there was a more interesting story there. Then we have Fool's Gold by Laura Sebastian, which is inspired by Bejeweled, and I give 2 stars to. This is more of a fantasy story, and I thought it was really confusing, and like if you boil down to its like essentials, it's like a fun heist story, but it got so complicated for no reason. Then we have Ellie Gets a Clue by Jennifer Dugan, which is inspired by The Black Dog. I give this 1 star. This confirms to me that Jennifer Dugan is not the author for me, because I just think it's impossible for her to write a likable character. That's also my main issue with this one. Ellie was so unlikable, and I disliked her so much. And then lastly, we have Creative Differences by Sarah Shepard, which is inspired by the Tortured Poets Department, and I give 4 stars too. I thought this was a really fun story. I really liked it. It had me gripped from beginning to end. I just think the end was a little bit underwhelming. And then for a anthology like this, I always calculate my average rating, and that literally came down to a 3.07. So it's literally a 3-star collection. That's kind of a great sum up of how I feel about this. I thought it was a fine collection. Also, if you're a Swiftie, this is disappointing. I'm gonna be completely honest. There's a couple of fun Swiftie references in this, but I feel like the only story that truly felt related to its song is the cardigan in question. The rest is just like, oh, you took like the title and then did something with that. But I feel like most of these songs like most of these stories like connection to the song were just extremely loose, and it just, I don't know, I felt like the connection of the Taylor Swift's songs was added on later rather than like generally written with that song in mind, if that makes sense. And yeah, let's get into my next read because I have picked it out, and we're staying kind of within the song title realm as I have decided to pick up Good Luck Babe by Erin Baldwin. For what I know, this has nothing to do with the Chaperone song, but it is the same title. This is a YA sapphic romance following Noelle and Yumi, who have been best friends since forever. But about a year before the start of the book, something happened between them, and they've fallen out. And in this past year, they haven't really talked much. At the start of the book, they get offered a last-minute spot on their favorite TV show, Adventureverse, which is kind of like a spin-off. Which is kind of like supposed to be the Amazing Race, you know. Just one caveat: the season is only for couples, so they now have to fake date to be on the show. And yeah, I don't know, this sounds cute. The only thing I kind of am a bit hesitant on is that I have previously DNF'd the book by Erin Baldwin, but I don't know, this one sounds so much fun. I love a reality TV setting, you know that. Actually, in fact, last year's June new releases vlog that I did also had a book in it with 2 characters who had to fake date to go on a reality TV show competition. Very different book because that's adults, so different. But and those are also strangers. These are ex-best friends. But anywho, this is just a trope I really like. So I'm very like 2 tropes I really like. I love fake dating. I like a reality TV show setting. So I'm actually very excited to give this a read, see what I think of it. Hello, long time no see, because when I last updated you, I didn't actually end up reading much more a day because it was Father's Day, and we unexpectedly ended up going to my grandparents, so I got to 3 hours and 34 minutes and to 7% of Good Luck Babe, so not far at all. And then I got sick. I spent the whole week with the flu. It wasn't fun, and then after that I had to kind of like build up some reading stamina a little bit. So it is now June 25th, and when I last updated you, I believe it was the 14th, so it's been a while. I apologize, but therefore we're really like in business now. I want to try and complete these 24 hours as soon as possible. One hurdle in the road though, that's hot as balls. So I feel like I'm gonna update this the least amount as possible. I apologize, I won't make for an interesting video, but I'm sweaty, I'm gross, I don't want to be on camera the entire time. I'm sorry for that. But it is currently 2:30 p.m. and I've been reading all of today, and I got to 6 hours at 34, so I basically read 3 hours today already, so that's great. And I finished Good Luck Babe. The reason why our main character specifically really wants to do this is because her father is chronically ill. They're in a lot of debt because of the hospital bills, and the prize money would help them out a lot. And she's also struggling with her mental health a lot, and that combination of those 2 topics, like, very heavy. I make for like a pretty dense beginning, but then once we get like on the actual show, it's a lot of kind of like silly fun time goodness, just interrupted by just like heavy thoughts every so often, and just like that tonal shift didn't always work as well for me personally. And in the second half, I feel like we kind of forgot about all that heavy stuff, and even in the resolution it kind of felt more of an afterthought to also include her father in that. That's good to go back to the storyline. So I think the execution was failing on it a little bit, and then also I think the romance was a bit underdeveloped, but for the rest it's a 3-star. Like, I still had a fun time reading this. Ultimately I read it relatively quickly, so I can't complain either about that. But yeah, it was like a fine book. I had issues with it, but I also had a good time with it. I always love a reality TV show setting, and I feel like sometimes they don't commit enough to like the different challenges and stuff. And this one definitely did. It showed a lot of different challenges and a lot of great descriptions from the different locations they were at as well. So I really like that. You could really feel that, and then also like it had some discussions around just like behind the scenes stuff of a show. And then for the next book I'm reading, I decided to be inspired by the weather, which is a fucking hellscape. Like, it's so hot. It's currently hotter outside than inside my body. But because it's hot as balls, I thought something that would be perfectly in the mood is The Summer Girlfriend by Kristina. This is a adult contemporary romance. It's also fake dating, and it follows Noelle, who is also has been having many issues according to the synopsis on Storygraph, and she's a stand-in bridesmaid, but that doesn't really pay as much as she needs to, and that's when she comes across Jeremiah, who is supposed to go on a family vacation, but like he doesn't really want to do that because he doesn't have like great memories to like their summer place. So he tells his parents that he actually has plans with his girlfriend. So his parents are like, oh, just like bring your girlfriend along for like a weekend and we can meet her and everything, but like Jeremiah doesn't have a girlfriend. So when he runs into Noelle, they come to an agreement that she will pretend to be his girlfriend for the weekend, and then he will also like pay her money for that, and that she can then use to, I believe it's for college. But she ends up getting along really well with his family and like having a good time at this vacation, so they end up staying for longer, and then I presume they fall in love because it's a romance book. And like, doesn't this cover just look like the most summery beautiful thing ever? I am very excited to read this book, so hopefully it's good. Hi, it is the evening. It is just before 10 p.m, so it's not even that late, but I am clocking in for tonight. I'm tired as fuck. It's the heat. Forgive me. But I did get to 7 hours or 46, so that's like an hour and a bit that I read for the rest of the day. I apologize, but I am 37% of the way through The Summer Girlfriend, and I'm having a fun enough time with it. It's not like really pulling me in. It kind of feels more so like we're just going through the motions, but then like also we're like very much at the start of the book, so it still has the potential to pull me in. We'll see. So for once I will allow you to yell at me because it's the 29th of June and here I am. I wish I could have said I read so much and just forgot to update you, and now I'm done with the 24 hours, but I'm not. I'm at 9 hours 34, and I haven't read in a couple of days. I just read today. All of that extra time is for today, but it just, the past couple of days was just way too hot to function, let alone read, and now things are cooling down to like a normal temperature again. I'm excited to continue reading, but we do have only 2 days, including today, left in June. And I don't think I'm gonna make the 24 hours because I really don't want to extend this into July, because I feel like that kind of goes against the point of the video. Like, this video should have gone up yesterday, and I'm already kind of annoyed at myself that the video for the June releases has to go up in July. That's already a thing for me. So I think what I'm gonna try and do is just see how close I can get to 24 hours in 2 days, basically, before the end of June. I do have nothing on, so hopefully that will work out. We'll see. But yeah, like I said, it is currently, it's 3:30 p.m. basically, and I did spend my morning a little bit procrastinating, so it could have been further, I'm not gonna lie, but I have finished The Summer Girlfriends, which is why I'm updating you. I wish I updated you more throughout, but I just didn't really have any thoughts, and this just winds up being a 2-star for me. I feel like it was just very much a nothing burger of a book for me. I feel like the romance was very insta-love and underdeveloped, and then the characters were very flat, and the book just was very repetitive and just like dragged on, and it was like way longer than it needed to be. I don't know, I just really wasn't interested in it. But I have decided my next read, and hopefully it will be better, because let me open Storygraph. I decided to pick up For the Bride by Becca Grischow. But this is another adult contemporary book, but a lot of the talk, because we didn't really get a lot of the main character in The Summer Girlfriends being a bridesmaid for hire, but we do talk about it quite a bit, which has gotten me like in the mood for like a wedding related book, and For the Bride is exactly that. In this book we follow Alice, who like has had a rough going at life, but now has gotten her life together, and she only really has one really close friend, Jin, and Jin is about to get married. And Alice gets to be a bridesmaid. Yay for her. Except not really, because her maid of honor is this girl, Renee, who she just doesn't get along with. Renee like is not a big fan of Alice because of the bridesmaids and maid of honor duty. She and Renee end up getting closer. I am excited to give it a read. I feel like it's gonna be a vibe. Like I said, I'm in the mood for like something wedding related, and it is supposed to be a summer wedding as well, so I feel like this book is gonna be quite summery, so hopefully it's gonna be fun. Okay, so I'm at 10 hours, a 24. This is gonna be impossible to beat because it's also 9 p.m. already, but I read a little bit before dinner, obviously. That's how I got to the 10 hours. I'm 28% of the way through for the bride. I don't know how to feel about ages yet, but now I'm gonna log the fuck in and hopefully I can get over the 12-hour mark. That's my goal for today. But to talk about For the Bride, I don't know how to feel about this book. I really like Alice, I can say that. I feel like we don't know everything that has happened just yet in her life to get her to the point where she's at right now, but it's like very clear that she's gone through a lot and that she's really trying and putting in like an effort, and there's a bit of a heaviness to a character that I do like in a way that still just works within a romance. But I'm not a fan of Renee. I feel like she's mean for meanness sake. But knowing that she's a love interest, I'm kind of feeling an ache of how she's treating Alice right now. So I don't know how this is gonna turn into a romance that I will root for. But who knows? I so far like the wedding stuff. It also is very centered on grief, which I think is interesting. I'm very excited to kind of see explored more throughout the book. But yeah, the romance I'm feeling a bit icky about, and it's not even turned romance yet, so who knows. It's the next day, so let me give you some updates. Last night I finished For the Bride with 12 hours on the clock, like almost exactly hit my goal yesterday. I'm very proud of that. However, I do hate to report that I wasn't the biggest fan of For the Bride. I ended up giving this 2 stars, and my main issue with it ended up being a romance. I just didn't really like it that much. I feel like the feelings just came out of nowhere and was underdeveloped, and I really didn't like the love interest. As I said in my previous update, I definitely didn't better as the book continued. And like, unfortunately, even though I liked everything in this book besides the romance is the main focus. And there's so many times where we're spending time on things that I think are more interesting, and then Alice is just constantly thinking about the love interest, and I'm like, oh my god, shut up, I don't care. So that made this a bit of a boring read. So give it 2 stars, but I do think this deals with grief really well as Alice is 3 years sober in this book after being an alcoholic in the past, and I think the discussions around that are also really well done and really interesting. But I was a big fan of the book. I went next, so much so that I already finished it. I almost got through 15 hours in, just under. It's currently 1 p.m, but I finished the book right before like taking a little bit of a lunch break. But the book that I read is Puck by Samantha Ellen. This is another contemporary romance. This one follows Puck, hence the title, and they are a producer on this reality TV show called Homewreckers, in which they basically pair up couples with the person that one of them cheated with, basically. And Puck, as a producer, is kind of really well known to always create the most drama, to know how to finagle these people in the best drama for the show. But that's not what this book is about. This book is about a wedding within their friend group, except that this couple kind of created a bit of a rift in a friend group. Buck really doesn't get why these 2 people are together. They think that they have better options elsewhere in a friend group. So because they're at like, the whole group of like wedding party people are in this hotel for like a full week, Buck decides to use their skills they've gained from producing this reality TV show to finagle the people in their friend group to get to the right couplings, because this is also a Midsummer's Night Dream retelling, in case that wasn't obvious from the title of the main character, like from the name of the main character and the title of the book. But their plans get kind of thrown for a bit of a wrench by the maid of honor Robin, who is a force in of her own and truly a match to Puck's chaos, and she is determined to actually have the wedding go very smooth sailing. So very different goal moments between the two of them, and I thought this was so much fun. I gave this 4 stars. I didn't realize until I picked this up that this is by the same author as Patricia Wants to Cuddle, which I read, I believe, last year or the year before that, and I really enjoyed it. That book is a bit more out of my comfort zone, but I really liked it, and maybe that's why I originally requested this on Unmagical, but I generally didn't remember that it's the same author. But this as well was a lot of fun. Puck is just such a great main character. I really love following them and their hijinks throughout this book. I thought it was so much fun. They were so funny as well. Like, I laughed my ass off while reading this book because just like their quick wit, I just really enjoyed. And then their dynamic with Robin is everything. Like, sparks literally flew through the room when they were together, and I just loved that back and forth that they had. I do have to say, the reason this is a 4 out of 5 is because I do think their romance is a bit underdeveloped, but for the rest, they had a great dynamic. And also just loved all of the wedding stuff and just the dynamic between this friend group. I thought was really well done, and the characters were all really well developed as well. But I have picked my next book to read, and I said at the beginning of the video that I had a lot of June releases that I was very excited for across all different genres, and then I've only been reading contemporary romance, so I thought I'd switch things up, John my Wise, and I went with a historical romance. To be fair, from the title, I thought this was fantasy. It's not, it's historical, but still a change of pace. And I decided to pick up, or I'm gonna pick up once I stop filming, A Prince Among Pirates by Katie Abdou. I read Trust of the Emerald Sea earlier this month, and that got me in a pirate mood, so I feel like this definitely is the right pick for that. But like I said, it's an adult historical, no, it's a YA historical romance following Kit, who is a nobleman, but kind of the future set out for him to go into like the House of Lords and like everything. He isn't the biggest fan of, and he's been trying to avoid that for a while, but now an arranged marriage is in sight, so he decides to kind of like run away a little bit, and he ends up on a pirate ship. The captain of the ship is Reggie Sharp, who is also a love interest. And yeah, it's gonna be, I presume, a book about self-discovery and romance and, I don't know, pirates. And I don't know, this just sounds up my vibe right now. So I'm gonna read it, and I'll update you with thoughts and timing when I can. Hello, it's just past 3 p.m. and I'm halfway through A Prince Amongst Pirates, and I'm feeling fine about it so far. I'm also 16 hours and 18 minutes into the challenge, in case you wanted to know. This book so far is fine. I'm having fun with it. I feel like especially Kit is a great main character. Again, he's very funny, and he has some quick wit to him, but then also so far through the book he's already grown a lot, just kind of, you know, being a bit hardened by the pirate's life. I really like seeing that development, especially as also in some scenes he is also faced with like the brutality of being a pirate sometimes, and I like his dynamic with the captain. Although I do feel like being halfway through this book, considering this is a romance, I would have liked a few more interactions between them. My main issue with it is that it doesn't really have a plot, which just kind of makes it feel a little bit like directionless and hard to like really get invested in, because I don't know what we're doing, you know? I fear I'm out of schedule because I'm at 17 hours and 30 minutes and I finished A Prince Among Thieves. And I finished A Prince Among Pirates, which is an issue because a month mind calculation, I still have half an hour to read. So I really don't think it's possible for me to hit the 24 at all, but I'm still gonna try. But let's talk about A Prince Amongst Pirates. I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was a fine read. I just think, like I said, I feel like there was a bit of plot missing as well as some depth to the characters and like the relationships. But overall, I had a really good time reading it. But I did also pick my next read because I'm just in a fantasy mood right now. So I went with a fantasy pick, and I also think this might take me a little bit longer to read, which is great because I'm already ahead of schedule. But I decided to pick The Unmagical Life of Briar Jones by Lex Croucher. This is a very different book than like Squash should typically write, so I'm a little bit nervous. I can give you the blurb because I feel like the blurb is better than the synopsis. With like vibe giving, got me more excited than like the actual synopsis did. The Secret History meets Her Majesty's Royal Coven in a stunningly prescient fusion of dark academia and crossover fantasy, following the life of a non-binary student and aspiring magician who fails to gain admission to the UK's only school of magic, featuring tyrant prefects, trials by sorcery, queer-found family fighting the establishment, and childhood friends to rivals to enemies to more. That sounds great, so I'm gonna read this. Okay, so confession time. I barely read anything yesterday. I started on the Unmagical Life of Briar Jones, and I got 40% of the way through, and I was just so bone tired, and I didn't want to do it, and it made me feel negative about the book, even though what I read so far I liked. I hated every second that I was reading, and I ended up clocking in at 18 hours. I'm putting this video to rest, and I am also making a promise right here right now to never do a 25-hour readathon again. They just always burn me out so much, and I feel like this is a perfect example of that. I feel like I'm burned out always at the end of these videos, but now I'm like 6 hours short and I still feel like shit. Like I don't want to do this anymore. So that's it. It's not 25 hours. I'm sorry, I don't even want to say that I failed, because I feel like I'm not having a good time, and I feel like it's better to then cut things short than to drag myself through it, especially because I don't think that's fair to the books. And yeah, I do have to say, I don't think any of my ratings for this video are because of how I feel about the 25-hour readathon thing in general. I think that also just like didn't help. Like the general burn down feeling is that the fact that most of the books I read for this video were a flop for me, especially considering most of them I was really excited for. So yeah, that kind of sucks. And also kind of sucks because there were still some June releases that I didn't get around to that I really wanted to read, but like June wasn't my month, it just in general. So it kind of was crazy to have this on a plan, but like hey, I had a plan before I knew it was gonna go to shit. So I apologize for this video also kind of being a bit of bit shit. I'm not gonna lie, it's not my best video I've ever done, but I hope you still enjoyed. I hope you still learned about some June releases, and I will be back in July with the July releases video probably, but like a regular one where it'll just be like 3 books because it's been a bit much the past 2 months, you know, but there's been a lot of releases, and then hopefully there's still some from May I want to get to and still some from June that I want to get to, so hopefully I will be able to get that done within my summer reading. We'll see. And yeah, I hope you still enjoyed this. Who knows how you feel about this. I don't like it, but maybe you like this video, so I don't know. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you read on these books, what you thought of them, and then hopefully I'll see you next time. Good.